obviously the intellect comes from Allah anyway.
It does.
And Allah's not going to give you something that is...
Exactly.
Go against himself. So when people... I've got someone that I know who's high functioning autistic person.
Okay.
So the aql, the intellect that Allah gave him, led him to the conclusion that Allah doesn't exist.
Sure.
And from a rational point of view,
sure,
the fact that Allah gave us all
intellect, He did.
Me coming to the conclusion
that Allah exists.
That Allah does not exist.
Oh, does not exist. Okay.
I'm not saying...
No, just say hypothetically. Don't worry. Your secret safe. This is a safe zone. Safe zone.
I'm not autistic.
No. I was more about the kufr thing. I'm joking.
So a person coming to the conclusion that Allah doesn't exist from that premise is fine. There's no problem with it.
Right. Okay, that's a good question. Look, I was asked. Sorry, what was your question, brother?
Along the same vein, but not exactly the same.
Look, they almost rapped that, didn't he? Isn't that a bit of a rap? Let's go like this. Doing it.
In terms of your philosophy, understanding the Quran, for example, if you look at literal things or something which is specific, how much can you take it as that literal or allegorically, where you could say that it's a metaphor to it, for example? So Allah talks about inheritance, that's a very specific set of laws, and how do you take that? Or if your example on Monday nights, you're talking about paradise, rivers in which gardens flow, gardens, and all of those details, and you said that maybe it wasn't literal. I just wanted to explain the breadth of the
sure. So Mubarak's question is a really good question about people have said this and they've posted on my thing saying, look, you always speak about reason, then how come Neil deGrasse Tyson hasn't become a Muslim? Isn't he like amongst the voices of reason? How come Richard Dawkins, who tries to champion the voice of reason, isn't a Muslim? How come, so this is their point, that all these people with reason, their reason has led them to kufr. And you're saying reason is... But that's the nature of the search. That is the nature of the search. Look, I think, let's be honest, we have to... twofold. One, the nature of the search. Two, secondly, the fact that our environment, religion is massively problematic in our day and age. It is. Like, let's just be honest. Like, if you were born a non-Muslim, you wouldn't see much interest in religion. Not God, but religion. Because religion is seen more about control. God is different, but religion. So you could say, well, how come Neil deGrasse Tyson or these people don't speak about God then? Why don't they? Richard Dawkins and these people, they do say that, look, in his own interviews, he says, if I put it on a grade from 1 to 7, 7 being certainty there is no God, he said I'd mark myself a 6. I wouldn't say I'm a 7. But the point is, why doesn't he argue saying that, look, maybe there could be a God? Because the belief of a God is not counter-reason. Because look, we understand this universe came from somewhere. It retracts to something. Was it, for example, a multiple universe? Was it whatever it was it a God? They would argue is unnecessary, but not counter-reason.
What do you base that on, though?
What do you mean, what do you base that on?
Because if the Quran is open to a person's intellect and
sure.
Then you could say that from your understanding.
Sure.
I could come to a totally different...
Yeah, but why...
I could say that the intellect actually leads not to God, but away from God.
Sure.
Now, that premise again would be...
Sure, I mean, you could argue that, but I don't see how the belief, like the construct, the concept of God is counter-reason. It's not counter-reason. You could not... All the leading atheists that you can find will clearly state this, beginning with people like Freud and all the the forefathers of atheism. They will write that this is not something just God. I'm speaking about just God, not organized and institutionalized religion. Just the concept of a God is not counter-reason. You could say there's no evidence for it. That's true. You could say that, look, But does that negate the existence of a God, or does it make the concept an absurd concept? It doesn't make it an absurd concept, in my understanding, by any measure. Now, why do these people not argue for this then sometimes? Because from their point, why would they? Because they're just fed up with people of religion. So if they argued this, it would just lend to their argument. It's like somebody asked me earlier on about fiqh, and they said, well, and I said, well, why don't those ulama mention the diversity? Because they know the moment you support even hypothetically another argument, people will go to it. And they're just fed up with it. Like those people don't want, let's say I've got a view, they don't want to share my view, so they won't highlight anything that leads to that, even if they see some sense in it. So it's not that these scientists don't see any reason, or they find that the concept of God is absurd. They don't find, Stephen Hawking didn't write about it being an absurd concept. He didn't say, he just felt that the universe could answer itself without the need for a God. That's all. So I think that you're right. People could, I think people are fed up with religion, not so much with God. So there's a distinction, because they then say, like a lot of these atheists say, okay, there could be a God. But how do you get from that God to the God of the Old Testament who's telling you to butcher people? This is the problem that they have with religion, kind of the way it's presented. So that, and yes, people could go to kufr or using reason. But if that's their search, that's their search. If Allah wants you to reason...
Isn't that quite normal? Because reason is like a tool, like a knife, and then it's the nature of it. And some people, they use it because there are enough evidence to lead them into non-existence. Or it's a choice.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean,
what's your name again? Your name? Mustafa, yeah.
Sometimes to give very high, powerful stance for the reason rather than just tool. Is that wrong or right?
No, I think that's very well said, Mustafa, that look, it's like any tool that you could use it in any way. It could be used to go against God, although I don't personally believe that the concept of a God is counter reason. Institutionalized religion, yes, you can find many arguments to reason against that. But the concept of a God, I don't believe is, and I don't believe personally Islam is counter reason. I feel that people are presenting Islam in an unreasonable way. And my whole point is to show that, look, that Allah and His Messenger are not unreasonable. And that is, personally, that's like my whole mission, to kind of like, to show that Islam does stand the test of reason. It does stand the test of any of these arguments being put against it. But in order to do that, sometimes you have to clear away some cobwebs that have kind of built up over the centuries through culture or through other understandings. So I think, I think that was, sorry, what was you were saying about...